We're quickly losing the art of the do-or-die game in baseball. As it stands, the last time we saw a Game 163 in baseball was 2018, and it was the only year in the history of the league where we got multiple on the same day, providing one of the most intense days of play in recent MLB history. On October 1st, 2018, the Colorado Rockies and Los Angeles Dodgers duked it out for supremacy in the NL West, while the upstart Milwaukee Brewers looked to usurp the NL Central Titans Chicago Cubs for a division title of their own. What followed was an unreal day of baseball in which the entire postseason picture and timeline was rocked to its core. We haven't seen anything quite like it since, but before we can fully relive it, we gotta retell the story of how we got there.
Before we start with today's video though, a quick shout out to Nike. We have an awesome new partnership with them, so go check out my affiliate link in the description down below to shop amazing Nike gear.
To paint the picture of that fateful day, let's first start out west with the team that's fallen the farthest from baseball grace ever since. The Colorado Rockies began the month of September in 2018 in third place in the National League West Division after dropping 5 of 7 games to end August, one of their worst stretches of the entire season. The Los Angeles Dodgers ranked ahead of them in the standings as well. For the Rockies though, this was a team that had already been on the brink of irrelevance. As late as June 27th, the club was 4 games under 500, a complete afterthought in the National League playoff picture. But powered through a ferocious duo of position players in Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story on the left side of the infield, the Rockies returned to relevance. Arenado and Story became just the third Rockies duo in franchise history to both put up a 6-WAR season in the same year, joining the duos of Todd Helton and Larry Walker, as well as Matt Holliday and Troy Tulowitzki. In addition to their 2 superstars, the Rockies also boasted a surprisingly reliable starting rotation composed of young, homegrown players. Southpaw Kyle Freeland led the charge, still in ownership of the most valuable pitching season by wins above replacement in the history of the franchise, with a 19-win campaign where he was worth 7.8 B-WAR in 2018. Supported by a reliable 3-man tandem at the back end of the bullpen in Scott Oberg, Adam Ottavino, and Wade Davis, the Rockies had put together one of their best pitching staffs ever. The 2 setup men behind Davis became the only duo in Rockies franchise history to both toss at least 50 innings pitched with an ERA that was 90% better than league average, providing a path to victory every time the Rockies got through 6 innings with a lead. The club put together a red-hot month of September, going 19-9 in the final month of the year, including wins in 9 of their last 10 games to reach a 91-71 record. They won a pivotal final game of the season thanks to Charlie Blackmon hitting for the cycle in front of the Colorado faithful. The club also put together their best road record in franchise history, going 44-38 away from Coors Field. The 91 wins that they had total were enough for them to land in a tie for the division title with none other than the big bad Los Angeles Dodgers, who were vying for their 6th straight NL West division title victory.
But also take those 91 wins with a grain of salt if you believe the words of backup catcher for the Brewers at the time, Erik Kratz. According to Kratz, the 2018 Rockies were using the exact same cheating tactics as the 2017 Astros, and when I see their record in 2018 versus all the seasons that followed, I believe him a tiny bit. Hashtag bring back cheating, hashtag Rocktober, baby.
Fresh off a grueling 7-game World Series matchup with the Houston Astros a year prior, LA was viewed as the team to beat in the National League once again. Outside of the addition of Max Muncy, a reunion with Matt Kemp, and a midseason blockbuster trade for Manny Machado, the 2018 Dodgers brought back largely the same squad of position players from the 2017 squad. It was the same story for their pitching staff, a unit that benefited greatly from the emergence of upstart rookie right-hander Walker Buehler, who finished 3rd in National League Rookie of the Year voting with one of the best first-year campaigns from a Dodgers pitcher ever. In fact, his 2.62 ERA was the 3rd lowest in franchise history among qualified rookie starting pitchers, only outdone by the great Fernando Valenzuela, who won Cy Young in his rookie year, as well as Japanese sensation Hideo Nomo. Buehler was especially nails down the stretch for LA, pitching to a 1.75 ERA from August to the end of September, the 5th best mark in MLB. The ridiculous amount of talent on this team may make you forget that, at one point in mid-May, the Dodgers' record of 16-26 was tied for the 2nd worst mark in the entire National League. The scuffling team ripped off an insane stretch in the summer before pulling off the huge trade for Machado, who was set to hit free agency in the offseason. In fact, the only reason we were given this intense Game 163 was because of the Dodgers' performance against their NL West rival in September, where they managed to win 5 of 6 games against the Rockies in their final 2 series matchups of the season. Overall, the Dodgers went 13-7 win against Colorado that year, and had they won just one game less, the Rockies would have won their first division title in franchise history. Conversely, had they won one more matchup with the Rockies, like this blown 2-0 lead in the 9th inning on a Ryan McMahon walk-off 3-run homer, then the division could have belonged to the Dodgers outright.
And also, in all honesty, the division probably should have gone to neither of these teams because the Arizona Diamondbacks held first place more than them for the entire season. It's just that, they went 8-19 in the month of September to completely collapse and choke away their postseason berth.
Instead, a date was set for October 1st in Los Angeles, where two teams with an identical 91-71 record would battle for the NL West title. But an hour before the first pitch would be thrown in that game, another Game 163 would kick off at noon between two teams in the Midwest. Speaking of National League Titans, the club hosting the earlier tiebreaker matchup would be another powerhouse club, the Chicago Cubs. Unlike the previously discussed teams, there didn't seem to be a real tug of war for this division down the stretch in the NL Central. The Cubs occupied first place from July 13th all the way to the final day of September. It wasn't exactly surprising either, considering the Cubs had won the division in each of the last two seasons with largely the same roster. The most significant change was the weakening of the rotation. When former Cy Young winning ace Jake Arrieta departed in free agency, the Cubs replaced him with Japanese veteran Yu Darvish, who only made 8 starts that season due to injury. As for their usually potent lineup, a shoulder injury robbed former MVP winner Chris Bryant of 50 games and his power stroke, but filling the void was shortstop Javier Baez, who had a career-best season with 34 home runs, 24 stolen bases, a league-leading 111 runs batted in, and a runner-up finish in MVP voting. Baez became the first Cub in the rich history of the franchise with a 40-double, 30-homer, 20 stolen base season, a feat that has only been repeated 3 times in the 6 years since.
And in true vintage Javier Baez fashion, he did indeed have more doubles and more home runs than he did walks drawn that year. And then he did it again the next year. And then he did it again the next year.
The Cubs were forced to play 40 games in 41 days down the stretch in a grueling late season schedule, but they won 26 of those games, good for a .600 winning percentage. This team did everything they could to maintain control of their destiny, but their lone slip-up came in their September home series with none other than the Milwaukee Brewers, where the underdog squad went to Wrigley Field and managed to take 2 out of 3 in a crucial late season series. The offseason was full of changes to this roster. The club signed off on the most expensive free agent contract in team history for outfielder Lorenzo Cain. They found themselves a superstar when they pulled off a heist of a trade for outfielder Christian Yelich from the Marlins. And they sneakily found their ace when they signed right-hander Jhoulys Chacín to an under-the-radar 2-year contract. The already strong pitching staff was bolstered with the first full season of lefty Josh Hader and righty Brandon Woodruff, as well as the rookie campaigns of Corbin Burns and Freddie Peralta. But early on, it appeared the changes were fruitless. The Brewers were handily swept in a 4-game series at Wrigley Field in late April, but the squad responded with great tenacity, ripping off 19 wins in May to take control of first place in the division. The Brewers had an active trade deadline, bringing in infielders Mike Moustakas and Jonathan Scope, but they finished runner-up in the Manny Machado sweepstakes to the aforementioned Los Angeles Dodgers. But the team saved their best performances for last, putting together their best stretch of play with a 19-7 record in the final month of the season. Leading the way was the eventual 2018 NL MVP winner Christian Yelich, who became the first batting title victor in the history of the franchise with a .326 clip. Yelich hit 2 cycles in the span of 3 weeks to help Milwaukee score a pair of vital wins. The dynamic duo of Jeremy Jeffress and Corey Knebel at the back end of the bullpen combined for over 25 innings pitched and 0 earned runs in the entire month of September. Milwaukee won 4 of their last 6 games against Chicago, and they won their last 7 games overall to secure a tie for the NL Central Division crown with 96 wins. That finally takes us to October 1st, 2018. While other postseason-bound teams got a day of rest and the lowly portion of the league began traveling home and booking vacations, 4 MLB teams were slated for one more day of regular season play. First up were the Brewers and Cubs, set to face off at Wrigley Field thanks to the latter squad winning that year's head-to-head. Southpaw Jose Quintana, acquired in a 2017 trade, got the ball for the Cubs, squaring off against Jhoulys Chacín, the ace of the Brewers rotation. The pitchers traded double plays and scoreless frames through 2 innings, before Christian Yelich dealt the first blow of the game with a 2-out RBI single in the 3rd to give Milwaukee an early lead. Around the same time as that knock, the Dodgers and Rockies began play in Los Angeles, where a pair of rookies Rockies took the mound in Walker Buehler and German Marquez. Though his season wasn't as elite as Kyle Freeland, the young right-hander for the Rockies put together a very promising 2018 campaign, and when handed the ball for this massive contest, looked to be up to the task. Marquez started the day with 3 scoreless frames, striking out 2 and only allowing 2 base runners. A big contributor to that was this unbelievable catch from left fielder David Dahl, spilling over the railing to prevent a budding rally from the Dodgers lineup. Walker Buehler matched his performance on the other side, and through 3 innings, we had no score out west. Back in the Windy City, Chacín responded to the early Milwaukee run by continuing to face the minimum through 4 innings. Javier Baez helps him avoid a walk by swinging at a 3-0 pitch well outside of the zone, flying out to left fielder Ryan Braun. But seemingly in cruise control, Anthony Rizzo wakes up the sleeping giant that is the Cubs crowd at Wrigley Field with a thunderous solo home run to kick off the 5th inning, the Cubs' first hit of the game against Chacín. Halfway through in Chicago, we are tied at 1. Later in the inning, Jason Hayward almost sends the place into an absolute frenzy before the Chicago Winds knock down this would-be go-ahead solo home run, keeping the game tied instead. Back in Los Angeles, German Marquez begins his 4th inning of work with yet another strikeout, but it pops out of the glove of rookie catcher Tony Wolters, enabling Max Muncy to hustle down to first and avoid the walk of shame back to the dugout. The rookie Marquez responds like a veteran, striking out both Manny Machado and Yasmani Grandal in the at-bats that followed, which should have been the end of the inning altogether. Instead, a 4th out is required, and when you give the Dodgers an inch, they can take a mile. Cody Bellinger makes Colorado pay for the defensive miscue, hammering a misplaced fastball to right center field for a backbreaking 2-run homer. For good measure, German Marquez punches out the opposing pitcher to close the frame, securing a 4-strikeout inning that probably didn't feel as good as it should have. Over at Wrigley Field, Christian Yelich kicks off the 6th inning with an opposite field single, making him 3 for 3 on the day already. Only at 63 pitches, Jose Quintana is pulled from the game for Jesse Chavez, who promptly records a strikeout and double play to snuff out any momentum for the Brewers. Jhoulys Chacín gets one himself the following inning, his 2nd of the game, before he too departs from the game, making it a battle of the bullpens for the NL Central crown. Back at Dodger Stadium, Walker Buehler silences the Colorado offense yet again in the 5th inning, while the Dodgers offense pushes the dagger further into their opponent. Jock Peterson hits a leadoff double, and Max Muncy rocks Dodger Stadium with a 2-run blast to open a 4-0 lead. Muncy hits a 99-mile-per-hour fastball on the black in a 3-2 count for this home run. Not a bad pitch by any means from Marquez. With the way the rookie Walker Buehler is going, this lead probably seems insurmountable to the Colorado faithful at this point. It doesn't help when Buehler himself gets in on the offensive fun with a 2-out opposite field RBI single in the 6th inning, extending a Dodgers 5-0 lead. The Milwaukee and Chicago bullpens continue to trade zeros through the 7th inning, before Orlando Arcia greets the newest Cubs reliever, Justin Wilson, with a leadoff base hit in an 0-2 count. Arcia, who is panned for his offense for the majority of this season, parlayed his hot September into a 4 for 4 performance in this absolutely crucial game. Domingo Santana, who hit 30 home runs the season prior, comes off the bench to pinch hit for Corey Knebel and delivers a double down the line. Runners on 2nd and 3rd and nobody out for the Brewers. Into the game comes Steve Cishek, who's inherited more runners than any other reliever in baseball this season, but Lorenzo Cain battles him to a full count, then delivers a go-ahead RBI single to put Milwaukee back in front 2-1. In this moment, he was worth every penny. Joe Maddon pulls another lever, bringing in left-hander Randy Rosario next, who's able to retire Christian Yelich with a huge strikeout. The next lever doesn't work as well, as latest reliever Brandon Kintzler lets up an RBI single to Ryan Braun for a key insurance run. With 6 outs to go, the Brewers have a 2-run lead and can give things to their ever-reliable late-inning bullpen. Back out on the West Coast, the Dodgers give the ball back to Walker Buehler for a 7th inning of work, trusting their first-year ace to face the middle of the Colorado order a 3rd time. In what feels like their last chance to truly get back into the game, Buehler retires both Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story on fly ball outs before departing from the game. Buehler's final line, 6 2/3 innings, no earned runs, 1 hit, and 3 strikeouts. Simply one of the best ever in a do-or-die game. The Rockies bullpen negotiates their way out of trouble in the following inning, but still down 5-0 at the end of 8, the writing is on the wall. For the Brewers, they send 23-year-old left-hander Josh Hader to the bump for the 8th inning. The man with the best strikeout rate, whip, and opponent's batting average of any qualified reliever in 2018. Hader lives up to the billing with a 1-2
1-2-3 frame, including a pair of strikeouts. The Brewers are just 3 outs away from their first division title in 7 years. Hader stays on for the 9th, striking out Daniel Murphy and inducing a flyout from Ben Zobrist, putting the Brewers just 1 out away. After a 9-pitch battle with the MVP runner-up, Javier Baez rocks a 2-out single to get the tying run to the box in the form of Anthony Rizzo, who's already homered in this game. Down to their final strike, Rizzo gets his hands in on this inside fastball and gives it a ride to right field, but the Chicago winds prove unmerciful for the home team as Keon Broxton secures the final out with a 2-handed catch. Milwaukee prevails over Chicago 3-1, out-hitting them 12-3 and conquering their in-division demon. The Brewers would send their rivals to the 1-game wildcard, and the Cubs will now have to tune into the game out west to see who they'll be hosting at Wrigley Field tomorrow night. With future Hall of Fame closer Kenley Jansen on the bump in a 5-0 game, a comeback is unlikely for the Rockies. Too little, too late, Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story club back-to-back home runs to kick off the inning, both of their first hits of the entire game, both solo home runs to make it 5-2. Jansen retires the next 3 hitters in order, including a pair of strikeouts, to secure a 5-2 win and a 7th straight division title for the Dodgers, denying Colorado what would have been their first in franchise history. For the Rockies, it was a deflating loss, but they have no time to dwell. They'll have to hop on a plane to Chicago immediately. Perhaps the urgency of the moment ended up helping them, as the underdog Rockies got an unbelievable pitching performance in the NL wildcard game, holding the Cubs offense to just 1 run in 13 innings, narrowly eking out a 2-1 victory in extras to keep their season alive. Of all the teams involved in today's discussion, none had a tougher road to glory than the Colorado Rockies, who became the first team in nearly a century to play against 4 different teams in 4 different cities in the span of 5 days. The club went from Coors Field after Charlie Blackmon's cycle to Game 163 in LA, to Wrigley Field for the wildcard game, and then to Milwaukee to begin the NLDS against the Brewers. The Rockies offense, which had been the engine of the team all season long, scored just 4 runs in their 4 postseason games that year, which was the key to the team's demise. The 2 clubs that emerged victorious in our Game 163 matchups would end up meeting in that year's National League Championship Series, providing one of the best postseason series in recent memory. In a set that went the full 7 games, featured 3 different 1-run contests, a Game 4 walk-off, and a pitcher homering off Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers prevailed in the end, punching their ticket to a 2nd consecutive World Series, one they would lose to the powerhouse 2018 Boston Red Sox. On one hand, you could say that these Game 163s didn't really matter, and on the other, you could say that they shaped the entirety of the 2018 postseason. And that, folks, is the last we've seen, and maybe we'll ever see, of the fated Game 163. I'm grateful that we were given 2 of these on the same day because it made for a day of unforgettable baseball, one that we likely won't see anything like in the regular season ever again. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. But that'll do it for me in this video, and I'll see you guys next time.